as well. Our Director of Athletics, Bill Moos, was born and raised in the community of Edwall, which the Associated Press now, because of a female golfer who wins on occasion, describes Edwall as being near Spokane, Washington. And that's about the best we can do on Edwall, Washington, where it is. It's near Spokane. But this young guy was born and raised there, cattle ranch, and he's, of course, now thinking in terms of having the biggest cattle ranch in the country instead and taken away from those Seminole people down in Florida. But anyhow, Bill, because his dad was involved in state government, as you all know here, came to Olympia and played at Olympia High School for the Bears. He was an all-state performer there. Went on to Washington State University, had just an outstanding career at Washington State. After he finished his playing days at Washington State, he managed a couple of very good restaurants, believe me, one in Pullman and one down in Eugene, Oregon. And he did as he does seemingly with everything he gets involved with, he did an outstanding job running those restaurants. He also was a member of the athletic department staff at Washington State University. And as an associate athletic director, his job on game days was to make sure that all the folks who were sitting in the president's box, the director's box, anywhere in the seats in the press box area, were taken care of, that they got to their seats, they found out where everything was that they needed, and were comfortably fixed to watch the football game. And I became most acquainted with Bill because when he got those people all settled, then he could go and watch the football game. Only problem was they didn't have a seat for him. He wasn't that far up the chain yet, he didn't have a seat. So Bill would quite often come into the radio booth and sit in the back of the radio booth and watch the game from there and listen. And over the years, we got to doing interviews at halftime. This was in the days when it was a one-man job to do the football game. There was no color commentator, it was just me. And so at halftime, I'd have to go on through at halftime. I would have Bill come down from his seat in the back of the booth, and we would do a short interview at halftime about Cougar athletics and the situations on campus and so on, that we called Moose Minutes. That was a good title for it. So Moose Minutes we had. The only problem was that the Moose and Moose Minutes left and went to Montana to be an athletic director, where he proceeded to build Montana into a power of 1AA football, and the Big Sky Conference had great success there. People loved him, hated to see him go, but as happens with young people on the way up, eventually they pack it and go to something bigger and more important. Well, to Bill, the most important thing probably in the world in athletics was to be back at Washington State University. We did have the job open at one time, and I'm sure that there are a lot of folks in this room who remember that and remember how much they wanted Bill Moos back at Washington State from Montana as our athletic director. For some reason, the folks in charge decided to go in another direction, thereby setting the program back about 20 years. But anyhow, Bill was the kind of guy who didn't let it get to him. He took the job at the University of Oregon, which was probably in no better shape at that time than Washington State was in the departments such as facilities and money to spend and so forth. Bill, over the next decade, did one of those miraculous, unbelievable jobs that sometimes can get done, but it takes a great individual to get them done. He built the Oregon program into a national power, one that is admired and envied for the facilities it has and for the growth over a short period of time that it did make. And Bill was the man at the controls when all of that happened. He decided to get out of the business and go back to the cattle ranching. He did. He had just barely settled into the cattle ranch up there near Spokane, Washington, when the call came from Washington State that the AD's job was open, and would he be, and at that point he said yes, and they didn't get to finish the first sentence. He just said yes and got in his car and drove south to Pullman. I don't think he negotiated for the job. I think he just stayed with yes no matter what, because he wanted to be back that much. He is a Cougar through and through. He is a Crimson Cougar, believe me. His life has been built around Cougar athletics, and now he is trying to build Cougar athletics around his life. Would you welcome back Olympia's own Bill Moos, our athletic director.
great to come home. I didn't have much to say where our events were going to be last year because I was just coming on board, but I did this year, and I said the Olympia area is going to have one, okay? And I need to get back and see my friends. I want to personally thank Tom and Brent and Greg and of course Liz. Wonderful job, great turnout. Thurston County, I always remember and am glad to see still is Cougar country. And this turnout tonight is a real illustration of that. A couple other people that I'd like to mention. George Roswell, I hear he's here. George, I hope you are. Is George still here? Okay. Where's George Hollingberry?
Right here.
Where'd George go?
He didn't show up. He wanted to make it, but he's not here tonight.
Well, he's 104. That's okay. I'll forgive him. But you stand up. This is George Hollingberry, great-grandson of the great Hollingberry. And I'm always proud to say I was fortunate to have played in the East-West Shrine game my senior year and stood on the sidelines with Babe Hollingberry, who invented the game in the 20s. And I got to stand with Babe Hollingberry, and about 4 months later he passed away, but that was always a thrill for me. And I got to drink whiskey with Jack Friel. That was a lot of fun too. He couldn't drink it at home, so he'd sneak down and we'd have one on the side. But and I got a special friend here, Gary Wolf. Stand up, Gary. Gary Wolf, give him a hand. Gary and I were teammates at Olympia High School. He was a great athlete, running back, track star, a good basketball player. And he and I put together the Animal Club at OHS. And Bill Moos, Gary Wolf, we had John Parrott, and those were the officers, and the fourth one was Deanne Barry, close enough to Bear. We let her in because she was so damn cute. And those were the officers of our animal club, and we had a lot of fun with that, and a lot of fun in general, and thank you for being here, Gary. Bob Robb, he's an icon. When you open up the dictionary and you look under Cougar, there are 3 pictures. Butch, Bobo, and Bob. The 3 B's, as well it should be. Bob was calling play-by-play when I was playing, and was calling play-by-play when I was 13 years old, raking leaves and listening to him on a 6-transistor radio. So you're holding up real good. All right. I want my staff to stand up. We got great staff that's here that are working a lot of these events. Dan and Mike and Maggie. Where's Maggie's not here, but Todd is right back there. Michael. These guys have been charged with some major challenges in our fundraising area, and they're answering the call, and I'm real proud of them. As Bob mentioned, I wasn't born and completely raised in this South Sound area. I was born on a wheat and cattle ranch in Edwall, Washington. Dad, Christy Jeanette. Christy, she was, I claim her in Edwall, but she went to Reardon, which is probably good, or I tried to marry her in the 7th grade. So I'm glad you're here. And Christy's on the board, too. And, my dad was a 4-term legislator, and when Dan Evans, his seatmate in the House, was elected governor, he appointed my dad director of agriculture, and he had a storied career here, leading 3 agencies, really: agriculture, fisheries, and ecology, before he was retired. But wasn't real excited about moving from Edwall to Olympia. Had to do it every 2 years for the legislative sessions, and that wasn't an easy transition for me. And then when I was told, the whole family's picking up and moving, I wasn't real excited about that because I loved the ranch and our home, and I went to a 4-room country schoolhouse with 8 kids in my class, 1 teacher for 2 grades. And I pull into Olympia, and all of a sudden I'm in the 2nd largest high school in the state of Washington. And I must have looked like Jethro Bodine, just tell you the truth. And I remember I went my first year at Washington Junior High because in those days Olympia was just a three-year high school, and I remember getting that first day. I still had barley beards in my ears from harvesting and all that, and I didn't know anybody, and I got my class schedule, and there were 7 periods, and I looked down and saw algebra. I thought that was a country in South America. I had no idea. And there was a guy standing at the top of the stairs. His name, I later found out, was Dave Nedrow, and he had the grease in the hair, kind of back like the Fawns, and looked like he groomed at the Shell self-lube rack downtown Legion Way, and he had a pair of football shoes, high top. Spot belts over his shoulder, and he was smoking a Winston. And I went up and had enough courage to ask him when practice started, and he went, "It started 2 weeks ago." Threw a cigarette away, and I went, man alive. And so I'd never played tackle football because, first of all, we didn't have 11 boys at Edwall. So we played 8-man flag football in jeans and tennis shoes, and that was about it. And if a left tackle went down, we replaced him with either a hefty 8th grade girl or a shorthorn steer. I mean, we didn't have so here I am. I'm going to play my first year of football at Washington Junior High for the Bulldogs in a school, the old Washington Junior High, not the new one. The old one, it kind of looked like the Alamo to me. I just expected to see Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie and everything in there. And I go in, and Willie Sato was the equipment manager, and the rest of the team was already out. It was the first day of school, and I'm 2 weeks late. And I go to Willie, and I go, I want to turn out for football. And he goes, "Oh, you're a big boy. We can use you." And he goes, "We'll get you some gear." So he's laying the gear on. I don't know how to put the gear on. So the first thing he gives me is a pair of hip pads. And the old hip pads were like a belt, and they had the hip pads here, and then the tailbone protector here. I had that on back. I had a priority list of what I wanted protected, and the tailbone wasn't at the top. Then I put my thigh pads in backwards, so everything was there. I got over that rash about 4 years ago. Those are my early, that first year, and then the following year, I was selected on the varsity team, and Gary was a senior. And there were 3 sophomores that were on the varsity team, and I'm 15 years old, and I still don't think I really get it. And Jack Swarthout, legendary Jack Swarthout, what a wonderful influence he was on so many people, so many young men. And we're playing the first game, and Gary, you'll remember it, in Stevens Field. How many of you remember Stevens Field? I played well, I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, Stevens Field didn't have a blade of grass on it. It was all sand because of the rain, and it was crowned. And most days of a high school game, you hear the purring of the lawnmowers out there. Ours were the rollers. They had rollers going over to pack that all down. And of course, we had great teams because we knew how to work that sand. You get down and throw it in the guy's face. And so I started linebacker, 15 years old. We're playing Wilson High School, Tacoma. Doug Henshaw's all-state. Okay, Wilson Ram, good. And I'm at middle linebacker, first play on the varsity. The ball snapped. Doug Henshaw goes like that. I go like that, and he goes 80 to the house. So I rode the pine the rest of that game, and several other after that, and was looking forward to basketball season. At which time I made the varsity again, and we're going to have a jamboree in Chick Rocky Gymnasium, and we're going to play Hoquiam and Aberdeen. And both good teams and great rivalries, and a guy by the name of Bill Quigg. You know, Quiggs, they still have Quiggs in Oakland. And he was he was the returning 3A, that was the highest level in those days, player of the year. And Bill Moos from Edwall is going to guard him. Jack Swarthout was the coach again in basketball. And he saw about 5 games and took the football job at Montana and got the hell out of it because he saw what was coming. So I'm going to have to guard the player of the year, John Quigg. And I don't sleep for 3 nights. And the place is packed, and I'm in there. My folks are there. The governor's there. Everybody's there. My heart's beating like this. And I go, I'm ready for this challenge. So the ball's tipped, and we come down to the end of the court, and I'm guarding him, boy, and I'm doing a heck of a job. Come on, like this, come on, I'm ready for you. At which time he looks down at me like this and goes, "What in the hell are you doing? You're on offense." He went off for 28 that night, and then Swarthout left. Great memories. I got better memories than that of Olympia, but we'll save that for another day. But I did have great coaching, and after Coach Swarthout left, Bob Dunn came in. I got to play for Coach Dunn and George Morris, who we all loved, the line coach. And I played basketball for Dale Herron, who's in the Hall of Fame at University of Oregon. He was out of Hoquiam as well. Bob Dunn was Jim Owens' first quarterback at the University of Washington. Bob was out of Fort Vancouver High School. And I got the best coaching, the best mentoring, fabulous foundation to be in a position to be recruited and play college football. And that was a fabulous but stressful time, just as it is now, as Paul talks about, and Ken and Donnie. And I can remember being at basketball practice. I'm a senior. It's January, and we're in Chick Rocky Gymnasium, and the door opens, and in comes Jim Owens. Now, if you remember Jim Owens, the head coach at Washington, broad shoulders, looked like he was cut out of granite. He had on his Husky, had his sport coat on, his blazer, and the purple and gold tie, and his entire staff, 9 assistants coming in. Tom Tipps, Otto Kofler, Mel Thompson, Marv Wheatman, John Goodwin, Bob Schlorett, Jim Lambright was a young coach, and they're all coming in single file. And all my teammates are going, "Whoa, what's this about?" And Dale Herron, my coach, comes over and goes, "Coach Owens and his staff would like to meet with you in the locker room," which you had to go through that breezeway, remember, Gary, to get back to the locker room. And I'm going, holy smoke. So I turn around, and they're already going in, and I go, "Yeah, they're going to offer me a car." And I took about 3 steps and kind of smiled and said, "Ford or Chevy, I'm ready for this." So I go in, and there they all are, and we talk a little bit, and they didn't offer me the car, but they offered me the prestigious Tyee Scholarship, which they only offered 2 a year in all sports, and I was offered that, and that was huge for me. And for a minute there, just a brief minute, I saw myself in purple and gold. This is where the plot thickens.
What minute is it?
So the following Thursday, Jim Sweeney comes to town. And thankfully my dad was on a trip, and he comes to town, and he takes my mother and me down to the Jacaranda restaurant, which was on the East Bay, if you remember. And we go in there, and he's sitting here, the window's here, I remember it like it was yesterday. I had on our camel sport coat, and I'm just, you know, it's a stressful time. He's here, my mother's here. He's on about his 3rd Cutty Sark and soda. And my mom was matching him. And they're both smoking cigarettes, and I'm getting a second hand in the smoke. And Coach Sweeney goes, "Well, Bill, have you decided what you want to study when you get to college?" And my mom interjects, "Well, I think Bill would be a fabulous teacher and coach." At which time, at the top of his lungs, Sweeney goes, "Yeah, Bill, sure!" And everybody's looking all through the whole restaurant, and he goes, "He ain't gonna be a damn coach. He's gonna be the governor of the state of Washington." Now, all of a sudden, I thought, hey, Tyee scholarship or governor of the state of Washington? That's a no-brainer. I was a Cougar from then on out. The second day of practice, once I showed up, we're down where the baseball field used to be, and Jack Tranum and a lot of guys in here. Gosh, it's great to see all of you. Dick Jansen, you guys remember that where the track is now is where Bailey Field was. And we practiced football down there. In fact, we practiced up on Sky Field, which is where Beasley is now. Ken, that used to be 2 football fields up there. Anyway, it's the second day of practice, and I'm trying to block Greg Craighead from Arlington Heights, Illinois. Greg Craighead, who Sam Jankovic always called Craig Greghead. But that will give Sam a break there, because he's a great Cougar and we love him. But Greg Craighead was throwing me around like a rag doll and sacking the quarterback for about 10 straight minutes until the whistle blew. And Moos, come here. So I'm prancing over there like Bambi, just really feeling good about the whole situation. He grabs me by the face mask, which you get fired for now, and gives it a couple of jerks, and he goes, "If you let him to the quarterback one more time, I'm going to break your frickin'," and he didn't say frickin', "I'm going to break your frickin' leg." At which time I thought, I wonder if he remembers he's talking to a future governor of the state of Washington. And that honeymoon was over. At least I had my hip pads on. It's a thrill for me to have a chance to finish my career where I started over 40 years ago as a student athlete at Washington State. And the journey has been interesting. My wife Kendra and I had 3 children that were born in Washington, one that was born in Montana, and one that was born in Oregon, and we were married in Idaho. So we pretty much got the Northwest covered. I know my way around pretty well. And we pretty much, we knew we were finished in 2007, wanted to go do some other things, and we bought the land that we built our ranch on outside of Spokane in about 12, 13 years ago, and we're going to go up and build our own cattle ranch. And I remember the press conference when I announced I was leaving. There's quite a few people there, and it's just winding down. There's a guy in the back of the room, and puts his hand up because we're doing questions, and I go, "Yes," and he goes, yeah, well, I gotta get this straight here. Why would a guy leave the perks and the glitz and the bright lights of intercollegiate athletics to go raise cattle? And my reply, which made it to Sports Illustrated, was, "I guess I'm at a point in my life where I'd rather step in it than put up with it." and that's pretty much how I felt. And however, after stepping in it for 3 years, we actually started to miss it. And you know what I missed? I missed this stuff. And I missed the kids. I missed the student athletes and that interaction, and the competitor in me missed game day, missed the anticipation and getting yourself worked up, which if you've ever played the game, especially at the collegiate level, you never lose that. On Saturdays and when Ken's playing and our other programs, you get up for the game even if you're 60 years old like I am, and I've missed that. I did enjoy coaching my kids, my younger kids, and I have an older son that's plays at Arizona State, so I got to go watch him. And I coached my daughter's basketball team when she was in 7th grade, and my son's 5th grade Pop Warner football team. Went 0-3 and got fired. It happens. I called Mike Price when it happened. I said, "You got nothing on me." I know how it feels. So anyway, when the time came that President Floyd asked me to come head up the intercollegiate athletic program at my alma mater, I signed on, and what a great leader he is, and very supportive of what we're doing, because as I'm going to mention, And we hit the ground running, wasted very little time. First thing that was on my agenda was to observe and assess our department and then restructure it after 120 days. I sat down in those 4 months with every single person one-on-one at their workplace to ask them what they felt could be better, what was good, what were their personal career goals, about their family, all these things that has been my practice when I started a program. And that meant from head football coach to the groundskeeper, from head baseball coach to the night custodian. They're all important, and they're all part of the team, and we can't get where we're going if everybody isn't tuned in and feel like they have ownership. And then we retreated, put the senior staff together, and we put the blueprint together to take us where we want to go, and I believe we are going to go. While that was happening, in the Pac-10 was discussing expansion, and it dawned on me about that time that I have the extinction, I think, distinction of having played in the conference when it was the Pac-8, working in it for 20 years as the Pac-10, and then playing a role in developing the Pac-12. Not too many people can say that. And the conference has always meant a lot to me, and wanted to protect the traditions and the legacy, but also realize that we're in the 21st century, and if we're going to make it and we're going to get to where we want to go at each one of our institutions, that we needed to follow the lead of new Commissioner Larry Scott and listen to what his suggestions were, and then follow him, in which we did, and that was, as it ended up, expanding to the Pac-12. Now, isn't it interesting, as we look at it today, the Big Ten has 12 schools. The Big 12 has 10 schools. At least we got the number right. The Pac-12, or maybe what we call the 12-pack, Northwest Cougars, a half-rack. We'll remember that real well. I was all half-rack my senior year. Okay, that's great. And but with the addition of Colorado and Utah, it really put us in a position as we went into a year out of going into our conversations with our television partners to have some leverage to command some big money. The problem was, for the old man at the table, and I am the dean of the ADs in the Pac-12, was it's long overdue that we have not equally shared our television revenue. And to give you an example, since 1997, USC has seen just under $80 million in television revenue. Washington State has seen 44. USC has seen, in a typical year, well, this might illustrate it better. The 12 years I was at Oregon, we were the winningest football program in the Pac-10. And we played one national exposure, which gets a double payday. Instead of $300,000, the two participants get $600,000. Winningest program in the conference for 12 years, we had one of those. USC averaged 4 a year. So we don't have a level playing field. And it was really, when we sat down in August and we were going to decide how we were going to divide the conference. We'd already expanded, and we were going to have 6 in one place and 6 in the other, and it turned out the way it should. But I stood up after 5 minutes and I said, I think it's ridiculous to determine how we're going to divide the conference till we determine how we're going to divide the money. And you'll probably have to buy my book to get all the background and some of the politics that went into it, but at the end of the day, it's all said and done, and it goes into effect in 2012 and 13. The Washington State Cougars will have the same paycheck as the USC Trojans, the UCLA Bruins. Once we got that established, then we let Larry Scott and our consultants go to work. And I was confident enough at that time to go to President Floyd and the Board of Regents and say, we are drastically behind in facilities. And we're not going to be able, the guys in green and yellow that played for the national championship in Arizona, they were there for one reason, and that's facilities. Isn't that right, Paul? And because facilities are going to attract the talent. Now, Paul mentioned we recruit a lot in the summer. All those Florida kids, they weren't recruited in January. In fact, when they got here in January, they goes, "What's this?" But we recruit a lot of them in the summer, and their parents accompany them, which I think is super, because they all have a different set of questions than the prospect. And as he said, and I noticed it this last summer because I like to help out as needed in the recruiting process, the parents are going, "I just love this place. It's safe, it's clean, it's collegial, it's beautiful, there's no freeways, there's no drive-by shootings. I love it." And if we could recruit the parents, we'd be in the Rose Bowl every year. But the young man is looking around and, "Hey, where's your locker room? Show me your weight room. Where's your indoor practice facility?" All these questions, and to their credit, they are this generation, and I like this. They want to meet their potential. They're going to go to a place that can assure them with facilities and good coaching that they're going to be at the highest level they can be so they can go play in the pros. Now, we never burst that bubble that only 3% of them will probably ever get there. But if you don't have a dream, how are you going to make your dream come true? And so facilities, under Bill Moos, facilities and marketing. Those will be the two big things you see. I'm going to talk about both of them here. When I thought, hey, we're going to get a pretty good payday on this television deal, I had no idea how big. I did go to the president of the Board of Regents, and they approved our plan for a $75 million expansion renovation of Martin Stadium, along with a 90,000 square foot football operations building. And we're going to show you some pictures here, just so you get a little feel for it. Ready, Michael? Okay, I'll keep talking. And so we went into the design phase, hired our crew, our design team, national architects, local architects, and national contractors. Had a lot of people interested in this. And I've done this before at other places, so I kind of have an idea how it happens. And then we started our conceptual design. We took the entire team to 6 schools that we selected 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact. Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, and LSU. We hit them all in three days. And took over 2,000 photographs and have journals full of notes. And then came back and started to break things down and put together the look of what this expanded and renovated stadium is going to do. And now we got Michael? Okay, I'll keep talking. And we will hopefully have approval by the regents in August so that we can go forward and start demolition. Okay? Click it.
Keep talking.
And start demolition after the Utah game this season, 2011, and have the entire project as far as the stadium completed for the 2012 season, with the building being completed on the outside and just the finish work remaining. So that's a pretty aggressive agenda. That's 9 months. And by coincidence, that will be ready in 2012, which is the 40th anniversary of Martin Stadium. I won the first coin toss there in 1970.